Welcome. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and you are an important part of our EWTN family, and we are so delighted that you've welcomed us into your home. You know, we would love to hear from you, so send us an email with a question or a comment to jimandjoy@EWTN.com. And remember, you can always listen to our show. Just go out to EWTN Podcast Central at EWTN.com/radio/podcast or wherever you happen to listen to your podcasts. Now, today, we are welcoming the Director of Research for the Vitae Foundation, Jeff Pauls. Now, Jeff is a longtime educator who has taught and coached students from the second grade through postgraduate level. And in 2014, he earned his PhD in education from the University of Missouri-St. Louis and joined the Vitae Foundation, where he is currently the Director of Research. Now, Jeff's most important roles in life are disciple of Jesus Christ, he's a husband, and he's a father. He'll be speaking with us today about the important role men play in society when it comes to ending abortion and the research that's being done to save the unborn. We would love for you to go out to his website. It's vitaefoundation.org, vitaeresearchinstitute.org.
Yeah. Well, this is wonderful. We always love to speak about the sanctity of human life and the best messages possible that people would not consider or have abortions. We also have the privilege of having the Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre with us today as our live audience. They're dedicated to supporting and sustaining the Christian presence in the Holy Land, more important than ever before. So thank you for being with us, and please say hello to our EWTN family.
Welcome back. Well, I love having an audience with us today. Our guest today is the Director of the Research for the Vitae Foundation. His name is Jeff Pauls. You could go out to the website. It's vitaefoundation.org or the vitaeresearchinstitute.org. Now, Jeff, we're excited to have you, but first we want you to tell our family and our beautiful audience here today a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in the Vitae Foundation.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jim and Joy. It's a pleasure to be here. So yeah, I was a teacher for most of my career, and I did a dangerous thing. I prayed to God, and you got to be careful what you pray for sometimes, because I said, God, show me a way I can become more involved in the pro-life movement. And I had been doing some volunteer work at that time, and so within a year, I was no longer a teacher. I was full-time at the Vitae Foundation doing pro-life research. So that's how I got
He
there.
answered your prayer.
He did. He did. Yes.
You didn't know he was going to change course on you.
No, but it's been a great blessing to be able to be, working full-time in the pro-life movement at Vitae Foundation, which conducts life-saving research, and we apply those findings, and we share the findings with others so that together we can build a future where abortion is unthinkable.
Yeah, and your research enables and empowers those of us who are on the front lines in the counseling rooms with clients and with families, with mothers and boyfriends, and to better do our great work, because it's one thing, it's constantly evolving because the abortion industry is constantly changing. We've been running a center since 2009 here in Birmingham, and my client has changed since 2009, since 2026. And right now, our warfare is pharmaceutical, with the morning after pill and the abortion pill. And so it's a whole nother game. Yeah. So your research is vital in how it equips us to do our work to the best of our ability.
Share with us more
Yeah.
about the methodology, the format. You're going to be kind of honing in on men, but you're dealing with so many different areas in terms of the culture, different people. So what are kind of the steps when you speak about research exactly? What does that mean?
Yeah. Thank you, and thank you, both of you. I always say that my heroes are the ones that are on the front lines in the pregnancy centers that Vitae works very closely with all around the country. Thank you for what you do, and what we do is to provide support, for that and do the research. We want to use our head, or our hearts and our heads to be really smart about, ending abortion, making it unthinkable, like I said. And our methodology is very unique at Vitae. It's really a form of market research, consumer research. We've long worked with the world's leading consumer psychologist in market research, Dr. Charles Kinney. But what it is it's called right brain research, and it really goes into the mind's eye of the individual who are interviewing, and we use relaxation and visualization, and we really start to peel back and get at the emotional needs and barriers to a specific brand or something like that. In our case, that brand, it sounds a little weird, but it's the brand of life. How do we, if life was a product, how do we sell it? And we do this market research so that we can try to understand the emotional needs and barriers of the people in the world to move them a little bit more towards the pro-life position, and then also to really help women and the men that they're with who are facing an unintended pregnancy to basically share messages that resonate with them so that they can make a decision for life.
So who are you addressing, right? We spoke a little bit about this in the back. Are you addressing dedicated Christians and how to do this better? Is it the general population?
Yeah.
Who in the midst of this culture are you getting to get a better feel for what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what their emotions are saying about the sanctity of life, or when they hear the word abortion? Who are you speaking to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our target is what we call the movable middle. So
Movable middle.
Movable middle. Yeah, and these are the kind of the 60% of the large group of just the culture. They're not the 20% of strong pro-lifers, like us and like so many people we work with, or the 20% that are in strong pro-abortion type of people, activists, or in the abortion industry, or even unfortunately the media and a lot of the culture. But it's that 60% that can really that really are somewhat open to this message. And so all of the interviews that we do we have a 10-question survey that they complete to make sure that they fit this category of movable middle. So we're not really interviewing the choir or preaching to the choir. We're really getting at the culture where we need to be, we think.
Well, it's interesting you say the right brain and getting to understand what men feel or women feel. Because when I'm in a counseling situation with a couple, I do ask the question. I'll say, I want you to tell me what you felt. What was the first feeling you had when she told you, I'm pregnant? And they look at me with no expression on their face. So then I'm like, come on with the feeling. So then I have to identify feelings. Yeah. Were you happy? Were you sad? Were you mad? Were you glad? Were you angry? Were you in disbelief? Were you in shock? And they just look, because we as a culture are so removed from how we feel. Or we're the people, we don't live by facts, we live by our feelings. Well, this feels good, so I could do this. Or I'll make this list this long as to why we need to end this relationship, end this pregnancy, so I could live happily ever after. This culture is under a great veil of deception, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And one of the interesting things about this study that we did on men, for the very first time, we've done 12 of these large-scale studies over the years, but this is the first one that was just completely focused on men because of this unique time that we're in. And there's, so related to the emotions that, as you talked about, we found that there were 4 emotions that men experience when they find out about an unintended pregnancy from the woman that they're with. And 2 of them probably are not a surprise to those of us in the pro-life movement. There's shock and there's fear, and that comes pretty immediate. But a man could actually experience all 4 of these emotions, or several of them. But the interesting thing we found is that the next 2 emotions that they experience are excitement and happiness even. Now that's not always true because we do of course have men that are unfortunately pushing for the abortion and they're not at all happy about the unintended pregnancy, but it's surprising how often that is true. Yeah. And it's just tragic that a lot of times they're not expressing that to the woman, and because unfortunately in our culture they've been programmed to say, you know what, I'll support you whatever you choose. And we found that over and over again in the studies that we did with the women. And so that was one of the reasons why we decided we needed to do this study with men and to find out, well, why is that they say that? Where is that coming from? And, so we found that, they say that and they really do think that it's supportive. Right. So they're not, now there are some that are pretty sly about that and understand that it actually puts more pressure on the woman when they say that because she feels like it's all on her then. And there's a few that are very sly about, but most of them think because they've been trained to do this, to say that they're really supporting her. And it's not at all like that based on those studies that we did with the women before that.
So the culture's saying, this is your place as a man. We're telling you what your place is.
Yes.
You support whatever the decision is. They don't speak about this is your child as well as her child, but you just go along with this. And really what you're saying is it's not a good decision. It's not a good thing to say. Mm-hmm. Why? Because why?
Yeah.
Why is it not in the case of the woman and in the case of the guy and in the case of the baby?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, well, in the case of the woman first, it's not providing authentic support. She doesn't actually feel the support. She hears, well, he must not want the child, or else he would say something more positive. Yeah. Now for him, it's negative because he's not stepping up into that role that he already is a father at that point, and he's kind of abdicating that responsibility. Right. And then obviously for the child, it's not at all good because that doesn't give the best chance of the child, for the child to be protected.
And I always say, I hear that. I cannot tell you how many times I hear that. And I always say, with the presence of that young man there, I'll say, and how did that make you feel? And then she'll say, well, and she'll get quiet. Sometimes she'll cry. And then I'll say, I'll tell you what your heart wanted. Your heart wanted him to stand up, put his arms around you, and hold you and say, we got this, no matter what. Yeah. And she looks at me and I said, but he didn't do that. Yeah. And then he's looking like, what? And he goes, he don't like that. Yeah. But it's really true because now she's found out that he really doesn't love her, he's not committed to her, he doesn't want to sacrifice for her, he was just using her, right?
Or with this information is so important that you got here so many ways. Or you can build on the guy that's excited and happy, like why are you so excited and happy?
Yeah. Right.
Because that's built in fathers. We're co-creators with God. I have a son, I have a daughter, look what I did. Yeah, well look what you did, maybe not a context, but like where do we go from here in terms of your stepping in and saying to this woman who you've had the closest encounter you could possibly have and say, I'm all in on this. Yeah. Now, it may not mean that we're going to get married, but I'm up front. I want to go the legal route, whatever we can discuss. Do we get married? Not. But I want to step up as a man because there's something happening inside of me regarding the child.
That's exactly right, and we found that wording even that you just mentioned, and we didn't talk about this before, but stepping up is something that resonates with them. Not necessarily the idea of like manning up. That's a little too much because we introduced that, and sometimes that's a little over, but stepping up. They say that. They said that without us even asking. Like, I need to step up and that sort of thing. But I think one thing that we did find is some of the other alternatives to say instead of I'll support you whatever you choose, and one of them, and these are all things that the men did say, and some of them were very effective, and then not all the time were they effective though. So tragically, sometimes they would say something that they actually did want the child, and yet she still chose abortion. And but one of the things that we found is, I don't know what this looks like, but I will help you be the best mom you can be, and I will be the best dad I can be, and we'll figure it out. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be together. That's another thing that one said. We can parent this child, but it might be separately. Right. Just because that's important, because sometimes that relationship might have been a one-night stand, unfortunately, or something like that, where there's not a good relationship there, or the woman really doesn't see a future with that man, and she almost is more likely to choose abortion because of that end of it. And if he can acknowledge that, look, I want this child, and I will be here, as a dad, but it might not be.
And this is critical. So some people might be watching and say, well, that's so helpful for Jim and Joy in the midst of no, it's helpful for you as a parent when your son comes home and says, I got my girlfriend pregnant.
Yeah, that's right.
And so how do you feel about that, son? Well, I feel afraid, I feel this. But there's also like, I'm just concerned, I don't want the child to be aborted. You sound, and then just say, you sound a little happy, or you sound a little like a man's coming out of you, that you have responsibility. I want to affirm that in you. This is not the way mom and dad plan on this thing happen. We want to support you in this. We'd be willing to meet with this person. So this is for our viewer audience. Or maybe they have regret. I wish we did that. And there's always forgiveness. But you could be used in somebody else's life when your friend says to you, guess what? My son's pregnant, my daughter's pregnant, here's what's going on. What you are sharing is important for all people everywhere who want to be advocates for life. We're going to take a break at this point. Going to hold you over for the final segment. We'll be right back. There's plenty more to come. Please don't go away. That's right. Welcome back. We're finishing up our conversation with Jeff Pauls. So it was just intriguing, talking about men and abortion, the things they think about when they first find out their mate here or this acquaintance is now pregnant. Why is it so important to study the emotional responses of men in these situations?
Well, thank you, Jim. For 30 years, Vitae has been doing this kind of research, really specifically with women. Mainly because the research has shown that the most powerful way to save the life of the unborn child is to reach the one person that can save that life, and that's mom. Mom. Now, who has the most influence on mom? Well, that's dad. That's dad. And so what we decided to do then is to really dive into helping dad positively influence mom. And we don't really get into statistics too much at Vitae, but there was a survey done by CareNet and Lifeway, over 1,000 men and women separately, and it showed that when they asked the man who had the most influence on the woman's decision in the unexpected pregnancy, the man said that by far the highest answer was, it was 38%, me. The man he said that he had the most influence, and even though, so that was important. The next highest was 18% at a medical professional, and then 14% said her mom, so the grandmother, the mother's mom. And so it was interesting. separately, the women's study mirrored that. They asked her who had the most influence on her, exactly the same percentage. And that was just really, I mean, a very amazing coincidence in research. 38% said the man, and then 26% said a medical professional, and again, exactly the same, 14% said her mother had the most influence. And so that's really important. Then if we can help the man positively communicate and understand that he does have that, because that influence is very powerful. That will help save the lives of these children. And then also we work, as I said, with pregnancy centers all around the country. And there's a group of pregnancy centers in Colorado and another one in Arizona. And they've developed these men's programs, counseling within the pregnancy center, just like at yours, with the men. And if the man goes through their counseling program and sees the ultrasound, in Colorado, this group of centers, 95% of the men either change their mind or are emboldened to choose life or to help the woman choose life. And in Arizona, 90%. And that's technically even higher than the number of the percentage of women who when they see an ultrasound, choose life.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, the man, it's something that is written on the heart, as St. John Paul II said. And that's why, they know that, and it's so powerful important to reach them.
We thank God for your work with the Vitae Foundation. We're grateful you'll be back with us again tomorrow. There's so much more to unpack on this. And so thank you for being with us today and for this important topic. And Jeff and the Vitae Foundation is equipping you, because with 68 million abortions that we've had in the United States of America alone, it's in almost every household, whether you know it or not. And you need to be ready to give an answer for the hope that's in you. You need to be ready to give the best answer. And there's different ways of saying things. But what Jeff is sharing about the best messages and what's going on within men, it's revealing the natural law in people's hearts. They may not even be in touch with, oh, I'm a provider. I'm a protector. I'm not supposed to abort my child, no matter how this child is conceived. And so you got to tap into that and just help that person along, as they're a critical part of making that decision, a decision that nobody should even have to make regarding life or the death of a child, your grandchild, your great-grandchild, and somebody's coming to you. Because lots of times it's the grandparents that these kids trust the most, just to come to grandma or grandpa, this is where I am. And for those that didn't make the right statement, there's mercy, there's grace, there's forgiveness, and you could become one of the most eloquent spokespersons once you've learned this lesson on behalf of the gospel of life. You're an important part of the EWTN family. You're never alone. You're always at home with Jim and Joy. Bye now.
Thank you.